Have you ever wondered if justice is truly inescapable? Some say justice can be delayed, but it is never denied. This is the core principle of universal justice, an eternal moral law that ensures no action, no matter how powerful the actor, goes without consequence. Sometimes, these consequences are swift. Other times, they unfold over years, decades, or even generations. But a delay never means absence. Universal justice is not about revenge. It's about balance. Every decision, every harm, leaves a permanent imprint. When powerful nations commit wrongdoing, the fallout may take time to become visible, but it is always there, waiting. Today, we'll explore how historical actions by the British nation and its monarchy have left unresolved moral consequences that are now being recognized under this universal law. The truth must be exposed. For centuries, the British Empire expanded its influence across the globe. This expansion was often fueled by wars, colonization, and resource extraction. These actions were frequently justified under the guise of civilization or duty, but the human cost was immense. Power, however, cannot evade moral law. A stark and tragic example can be found in South Africa. Thousands of miles from London, peaceful Boer farmers sought to live freely on their own land. But the discovery of gold and diamonds created an irresistible pull. Driven by the pursuit of wealth and strategic influence, the British military waged two brutal conflicts against them, the First and Second Anglo-Boer Wars. During these wars, a systematic and cruel strategy was employed. Farms were burned to the ground, livestock was confiscated, and entire communities were displaced. But it didn't stop there. Women, children, and the elderly civilians were rounded up and forced into camps under horrific conditions. This was one of the earliest modern uses of what would later become known as concentration camps. The suffering was immense, and the loss of life was staggering. Historical records and scholarly analysis reveal a deeply disturbing connection. The methods used in these British camps, including the systematic imprisonment and mistreatment of a civilian population, provided a chilling precedent. Some scholars note that these tactics influenced later regimes, most notably that of wartime Germany. This isn't about equating historical events, but about understanding a critical principle of the karma of justice. The actions of powerful nations create moral ripple effects that extend far beyond their immediate time and place. Patterns of cruelty, once established, can be replicated and amplified. History remembers unpunished crimes. The impact on the Boer population was devastating. Entire communities were shattered, families were torn apart, and thousands of innocent lives were lost due to disease, malnutrition, and neglect in the camps. Under the earthly justice systems of the time, such actions often went unpunished. They were shielded by power, authority, and the political agendas of an empire. But under the laws of universal justice, no harm is ever forgotten. Every act of cruelty is recorded, and every consequence is accounted for. The universe's moral ledger reminds us that wrongdoing cannot simply be erased because human institutions fail to act. The moral weight of historical injustice doesn't just disappear, it carries forward. Actions rooted in greed, violence, and the oppression of others create a profound imbalance. This imbalance demands correction, and the consequences eventually manifest. They may appear as a nation's societal decline, a long overdue moral reckoning, or the slow but certain exposure of buried truths. Again, this form of justice isn't about vengeance. It's about restoring balance, ensuring accountability, and facilitating a collective healing process. The universe seeks equilibrium, and unresolved harm is a powerful source of imbalance. This brings us to a simple but unchanging law of the universe, the principle of cause and effect, or what many call the karma of justice. Simply put, what is sown must eventually be reaped, and often in abundance. Actions that harm the innocent, exploit the vulnerable, or oppress entire communities create a deep moral debt. Universal justice is the mechanism that works to restore that balance. The British Empire's colonial wars, its relentless resource extraction, and the systemic cruelty it employed are all recorded in the moral ledger of the universe. While human courts and history books written by the victors may have overlooked these harms, moral law ensures that consequences arrive, in their own time and their own way. These consequences are not necessarily about punishment in the way we typically think of it. They can manifest as a forced historical recognition, a collective moral awakening, or a societal correction that realigns a nation with more ethical principles. What is absolutely critical is that balance is restored and the original harm is acknowledged and understood. Under the time for justice, we recognize that true accountability does not depend on human approval or political convenience. Moral law operates independently of our institutions, our wealth, or our influence. No nation, no matter how powerful, can escape karma. Let's reflect on this. The historical connection between British colonial methods and the later atrocities of the World War II German regime is a powerful lesson. It demonstrates how patterns of cruelty can propagate through influence. Britain's use of holding camps during the Boer War showed the world that systematic methods of control and mistreatment could be institutionalized and used against civilian populations. This observation is not intended to stir blame or hatred. It's about understanding a fundamental truth. Unchecked power leaves moral footprints that can lead others down a dark path. Universal justice ensures that these patterns of harm are eventually addressed, whether through societal change, a rise in ethical awareness, or direct karmic accountability. The ultimate source of this justice is patient, but it is also incredibly precise. Moral law ensures that all who commit injustice, whether they are individuals or entire nations, are held accountable in perfect alignment with universal principles. This divine principle transcends time, politics, and all human systems. Justice is, in the end, inevitable. It doesn't require our participation or our desire for retaliation. It doesn't rely on the powerful or the influential to be enacted. Universal justice acts continuously, tirelessly recording and correcting imbalance wherever and whenever it exists. So, the story of Britain, its monarchy, and its colonial history serves as a profound reminder of a timeless truth. Universal justice exists, karma is real, and moral law is eternal. What is sown must be reaped. Those who act with cruelty, greed, or oppression may believe they have escaped judgment by evading human courts, but the unseen justice system of the universe ensures that balance is always restored. Historical actions leave indelible consequences. They influence future events, and they demand ethical recognition. The time for justice teaches us that true justice is not about vengeance or hate. It is about truth. It is about moral accountability, and it is about the final correction of all imbalance. The karma of justice gives us the ultimate assurance that no injustice, no matter how powerful its perpetrator or how hidden its commission, is ever truly ignored by the cosmos. History teaches. Moral law acts. Justice endures. Let it be. Thank you for watching, and if this message resonated with you, please consider subscribing for more content that explores these universal truths.